Hi, my name is Oscar Zambrano and I'm going to talk about Breaking Bad hypertrophy. Definition: hypertrophy is an adaptive increase in the mass of a cell, tissue, or organ that does not result from cell proliferation. The most common type of muscular hypertrophy occurs as a result of physical exercise, such as weightlifting, and the term is often associated with weight training.
Have you ever wondered what is actually being built when you build muscle? Then watch this as I explain the anatomy of muscle and the process of hypertrophy. So here we have a muscle. The bulk of its mass is called the belly, and it has tendons that attach to bone on either end. It is surrounded by a protective layer of connective tissue called the epimysium. If we cut into the muscle, we can see it is composed of several parts. It is filled with blood vessels necessary for supplying the large amounts of nutrients muscles require, and nerves necessary to make the muscles contract. It is composed of subsections called fascicles. When we take a closer look at a fascicle, we can see more blood vessels and nerves, as well as the next layer of connective tissue called the perimysium, and of course the muscle fibers themselves. Looking at just one muscle cell, we can see it is a pretty complex structure. It is surrounded by yet another layer of connective tissue called the endomysium. A very unique aspect of the muscle cell is that it has several nuclei, and that is actually the secret to how it builds muscle. Nerves penetrate as far as to have contact with the cell, what we call a neuromuscular junction. These motor neurons are responsible for signaling contraction in a process where they polarize the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Inside the cell are the myofibrils surrounded by the sarcoplasm. Within the sarcoplasm are glycogen stores called glycosomes, and myoglobin responsible for oxygenating the cell, as well as large amounts of mitochondria that make the ATP necessary for contraction. Inside a myofibril is where the magic happens. When a muscle is contracted, the sarcoplasmic reticulum floods the cell with calcium ions that activate the proteins actin and myosin. These are the actual proteins that contract the muscle. After doing this process to the point of exhaustion, your muscles become depleted and damaged. Nearby myoblasts donate themselves to the repair and building of new proteins. When we say we need protein to build muscle, this is why. Amino acids form together to create the actin and myosin proteins that increase the strength and size of the myofibril. Continued stress to the muscle will also cause the increase of nutrient stores in the sarcoplasm. When the cell is repaired and rebuilt, it now has more nuclei thanks to the myoblasts that merge to rebuild the cell. You can see how the increase in size in the myofibril increases the size of the muscle fiber, which increases the size of the fascicle, and thereby increasing the size of the entire muscle. Additionally, the blood vessels also increase in size, and the neurons form stronger connections to better contract the muscles, what we call muscle memory. And that is a process of hypertrophy and how your body builds muscle.
Application in medicine. There are two types of muscular hypertrophy: myofibrillar and sarcoplasmic. Myofibrillar, growth of muscle contraction parts, and sarcoplasmic, increased muscle glycogen storage. Which type to focus on depends of your fitness goals. Myofibrillar training will help with strength and speed. Sarcoplasmic growth helps give your body more sustained energy for endurance athletic events.
Does skeletal muscle have a memory? That's the question researchers from the UK set out to answer in one of their most recent studies. Their finding: yes, muscle memory is real, but it's not quite the same type of memory you might be thinking of. This is memory of previous muscle growth, even after a period of muscle loss. The implications for athletes looking to bulk up is clear, but the results could also clue clinicians in on how to help patients retain muscle mass into older age. The researchers analyzed more than 850,000 sites on human DNA, discovering distinct patterns in how genes in these regions were chemically marked or unmarked during periods of exercise or no exercise. One cluster of genes lost its tags during muscle growth following exercise, kept them off after a period of no exercise, and lost even more during a second exercise period. Known as an epigenetic modification, this untagging of DNA is associated with switching gene expression on. And that's precisely what the team of researchers observed. Genes promoting muscle growth remained activated even through periods of muscle loss, suggesting that the muscle remembers previous phases of growth. What's more, this memory could make later gains easier to achieve. The findings have important implications for how athletes train and recover from injury. For example, An individual might respond more quickly to a specific exercise protocol after injury if the type of training reflects the exercise undertaken prior to injury, due to the muscle retaining a memory at the DNA level. Understanding muscle memory could also help regulators make tough decisions on the use of performance-enhancing drugs. That muscle might remember periods of illicit enhancement long after the fact, can make the case for indefinite bans on athletes caught using illegal drugs, or for the development of new DNA tests to confirm when athletes should return to competition. However, more work on the effects of performance-enhancing drugs rather than exercise alone is required. Beyond athletics, understanding the genes that control muscle memory could enable researchers to create a longer-lasting memory in the elderly. That would allow individuals to better retain muscle mass, making for a healthier, possibly longer lifespan.
Pros and cons. Although the process of hypertrophy is the same for everyone, the results are likely to be different, even in people doing the same workouts. This variance in result is due to the genetic makeup of each individual's person muscles. Genetics can affect muscle growth in several ways: degree of growth, speed of growth, shape, and appearance of muscle.
What's cracking, guys? Do bodybuilders and athletes have the same type of muscle? Essentially, there are two different types of muscles that you can build: sarcoplasmic hypertrophy and myofibrillar hypertrophy. And today we're talking about both of them. Sarcoplasmic hypertrophy is an increase in volume of the non-contractile muscle cell fluid, sarcoplasm. And this fluid will account for between 25 to 30% of a muscle's size. But while the cross-sectional area of the muscle increases, there will be a decrease in the density of total muscle fibers in that same area. And sarcoplasmic hypertrophy is poor at increasing muscular strength. You follow what we're saying, Brady? Yeah, I'm with you. Your nutsack releases plasma, hence the term sacroplasmic muscle, right? Yeah. Told ya I got it. This type of muscle building is your more traditional bodybuilding training to failure, pump style training of keeping the reps higher. These are the type of workouts that you'll traditionally see inside the muscle magazines. This lack of direct athletic carryover can easily explain why bodybuilders have the most amount of muscle yet the least amount of function. I'm not saying it's bad at all, it just has a very small carryover towards performance. You know, like explosive movements, 1 rep maxes, jumping, sprinting, throwing. On the other hand, myofibrillar hypertrophy is the enlargement of muscle fibers as they gain more myofibrils. The more myofibrils, the muscle will be able to contract harder and create more tension. You still with me, Brady? Huh? Yeah! Basically! With this type of muscle, there's a direct carryover to increasing muscular strength. So not only does your muscle size increase, your performance will also improve. These are built by generating more force. Traditionally in weightlifting, this means lifting a heavy ass weight for very low reps, a compound movement. An example would be performing a deadlift for 3 reps. But increasing the amount of force you produce through focusing on acceleration is also a valid option. This means doing explosive movements like vertical jumps, broad jumps, medicine ball throws. All feats of athleticism depend upon this type of muscle. Strong myofibrillar hypertrophy with a very efficient central nervous system will yield not only an amazing athlete, but a great physique. So not only will this muscle look good, it'll also perform well. Now here's the $1,000,000 question. What's better, myofibrillar hypertrophy or sarcoplasmic hypertrophy? Neither! Holy shit, Brady, that is the right answer. I knew it, I'm out. The answer is that they're not mutually exclusive. I don't believe that aesthetics, looking good, and athletics, performing well, should be separate. I want both. I'm after athletic aesthetic, and you can absolutely achieve this. Really, I advocate training both styles with a larger emphasis on the heavy compound movements. Do your heavy compound movements and also incorporate some isolation exercises. I mean, heavy ass squats will develop your legs and are great for athletic performance, but however athletic you are, it's very hard to develop certain muscles. Let's say biceps, which is a non-functional muscle, and you should do a more traditional bodybuilding style training when it comes to training your biceps to get optimum growth. Melding of the two worlds is what I'm all about and what I believe to be the easiest, fastest, best way to gain not only a great body, but to be able to perform at a high level. Not only to look good, but to be able to do something with that body. Too many guys are focusing on bodybuilding style training, which is hampering their overall progress because they're not lifting heavy. Combine the two and you get awesome results. Guys, that is the video. Make sure to like, share.
Pros. The main reason why people want to gain weight is to gain size and bulk and thereby look bigger. And cons. Cellular fatigue is also a stimulus for growth by pushing muscle fibers to their metabolic limits, so doing repetition to muscular failure. Issue apply in Ecuador. There is no specific data in Ecuador. However, hypertrophy-specific training is based of psychological principles of hypertrophy first discovered in the laboratory. These principles were then organized into a method of mechanically loading the muscle to induce hypertrophy.
So what is hypertrophy? Apart from a funny sounding name, hypertrophy is a strategic, focused approach to building aesthetics and sculpting muscle in the body. As a woman, it's going to be very difficult to build large, bulky muscle, but to create a shape and aesthetic to the body is very difficult without a targeted approach. That's what we accomplish in our sculptor, being our legs and butt, or our shoulders and arms, or our shredder focusing on the abs and core. With these classes, we take a 4P principle. We prime the muscle group we're trying to target. We activate it, make sure it's working. Secondly, we perforate that through specific controlled tempos, exercise selections, and so on. We then pump blood and nutrients into that muscle to make sure that we're filling it with the nutrients it needs to grow, respond, and adapt. And we punish that and really amplify the lactic acid and the anabolic agents available in the muscle during that kind of a workout. When you combine our hypertrophy training along with our more athletic-based workouts, not only do you create a more sculpted aesthetic physique, but you benefit from having a more balanced body with better body awareness and body control to keep you lean, strong, fast, and injury-free for good.
Conclusion. It is distinguished from hyperplasia, in which the cells remain approximately the same size but increase in number. Although hypertrophy and hyperplasia are two distinct processes, they frequently occur together. Muscle hypertrophy or muscle building involves hypertrophy or increase in size of skeletal muscle through a growth in size of its component cells.
Hi guys, Steve Morgan here, Morgan Health and Fitness. I got asked the other day what the difference between hyperplasia and hypertrophy was the other day. So hyperplasia, very simply put, is building more muscle tissue, so more muscle cells and more muscle fibers to basically get stronger. And you do that through training hard, tearing the muscle down, and then eating right, sleeping right, recover right, and the muscle, what's brilliant about the human body, will grow bigger. Then hypertrophy, really simply put, is the muscle fibers that you already have and the muscle cells that you already have in there. You train to basically expand. So it's like a balloon that you're blowing up. So you expand those muscle fibers and cells that you already have by putting in water and glycogen into there. Now, to be good, as in size-wise, especially if you're a bodybuilder, you need to train for both. So you need to train heavy occasionally in the right program to basically build those muscle fibers to then be able to blow up more. Now, a good analogy that I heard the other day from someone else, and I'm stealing this and I can't remember who it was, so I apologize, but is balloons. So if you imagine you have 3 balloons already. For hypertrophy, if you've got those 3 balloons, you blow them up, you'll get to a certain size, okay? Now, if you train a little bit for hyperplasia and you build 2 extra balloons, so you now have 5 balloons, now you train for hypertrophy and blow those up, you have greater surface area, if you hear what I mean. Now, what a lot of people do is train too much just for hypertrophy. Now, if you're going to do that, you're going to basically, you're going to potentially get a really good pump and look good in the gym, but you're never going to improve and your strength isn't going to improve. So you do need to train for that hyperplasia as well. So the hyperplasia, again, very simply, is just trying to break down muscle tissue in a good way and then regrow bigger and stronger. So you need to be in that lower rep range. So if you're a bodybuilder, occasionally training in those kind of 3 to 6 reps. And not just chasing the pump the whole time. So I hope that's a help, hope that's simplified things for you a little bit. As always, please like and share, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks.
Well, that is all for me. Thank you for hearing me. Um, Thank you very much.